Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our spring product release webinar. It's a quick 12 minutes where we're going to run you through some of the new product updates that have been released or are going to be releasing in the near future that you can start leveraging in your daily and monthly use of Spiff. So before we get started, just wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. First things first, this webinar is going to be recorded and it'll be sent out automatically within 48 hours of the webinar. So if you have to hop at any time between now and at the end of the webinar, or you just really want this after the fact to view it, don't worry, we'll be sending that out to you. We do ask that everyone stays muted throughout the webinar. We are going to have a Q&A session at the very end. So if you have questions throughout when Erin's showing you around, feel free to drop those questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And without further ado, before I hand it over to Erin, I did want to talk about community for those that don't know about it. So we just launched our community a few months ago. This is a really good place for you to leverage and be able to access tips and tricks, some videos, understanding some of the new features that are coming out outside of these webinars that we host, as well as the opportunity to actually provide feedback to our product team on things that we should be working on to make your experience in Spiff the most valuable for you. All you have to do when signing up for the community is using your business email, just as when you log into Spiff, and you'll have full access to the resources within our community. And we'll make sure in the follow-up email that we provide a link so that way you know where to register for that. And now I will go ahead and hand it on over to Erin, our Client Success Manager team lead, and she's going to walk us through all the updates.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. As soon as you stop sharing your screen, I will share mine and we'll get started today. So while we're getting that set up, nice to see all of you in the session so far. It's a rare opportunity. I get to actually talk to reps and managers. As a CSM, I'm used to dealing more with the admins you have that work with us directly at Spiff. And so it's really exciting to be able to present some stuff just relevant to reps and to managers today. We've released a ton of features for this spring, and we definitely want to just highlight a few quick features, 3 that are directly relevant to you as reps and managers when you enter Spiff. So I'm going to first start by showing a sample rep statement and talk through one of our newest features that just came out. And I'm going to pretend I'm Amanda today, even though I'm Erin. I'm going to be Amanda, the rep, who's an account executive in North America on their plan for their company. And you can see at the top, you're used to, if you've ever logged in and looked at your statements, you're used to seeing some metrics at the top of the statement. And there's default metrics. There's also sometimes custom metrics that are built for your company based on the specifics of your plans, working with your admin and our Spiff team here. But the newest release is this year-to-date commissions that you see here. One of our biggest requests from salespeople is that they can see their cumulative commissions throughout the calendar year. And so it kind of aligns to what you see in the commission trend graph on your statement. This is going to go back currently on this sample May statement. It's looking at January through May, what's the total commission earned? So taking this total commission from the period across all of the calendar year months and getting that total. So really quickly, admins can, with just a few clicks, add this to your statements if you don't already see it. It can be also ordered into different places. So right now we see it on this statement as the last card at the top. Here's another sample statement, a completely different person's rep statement as a BDR for an example. And you can see that year-to-date commissions has been moved up to the top row next to the other default metrics. So this could be arranged and customized for your needs. If you don't see any year-to-date metrics on your statement, reach out to your Spiff admin and they can either add it themselves or they can work with their CSM to get that onto your statements if you're interested in that. So that is the new year-to-date statement metric for your rep statement. The next item I want to talk about, and we'll take questions at the end, but if you have any questions, feel free to throw them out in that Q&A, remember. This is actually an update I want to talk about that is coming later in the month. So by the end of May, you should see this update. It is around a feature we get a ton of feedback on from reps. This is probably the feature I hear about the most as a CSM from reps and managers of wanting to change and update. And that's the statement export that you see on your statement. So when I hover here, this is how you get that Excel download of your statement. However, a lot of the feedback we've gotten from reps over time with our initial version of that statement export is that it's a little confusing. It has too much information. It's not really clearly organized because it's taking a lot of the raw data you have tied to your plans, and it's just putting it in a statement in the way it comes through to us. And it's also sometimes a little slow to run. So the goals with this release is we are releasing an updated version of this export that's going to export a little bit more cleaner of a statement that's going to better align to what you see on your statement. So everyone at your different companies and your different roles are going to have different metrics. You're going to have different incentive components. We call them rules in Spiff, but you'll have different elements each month totaling to your total commissions, or each period you have totaling to your total commissions. You could have one incentive component, you could have multiple incentive components. But one thing that's been very consistent across companies is that people want the export to more closely mirror what you visually see within Spiff. So it makes a little bit more sense. Another big goal is to make those exports run more efficiently. So I have one preloaded already, but if I clicked export statement, it's going to do the same thing. It's just going to download that statement. So we're going to look at Amanda's for May as an example and what that looks like in an export. So let's go over to the download file that I pulled using this new update. And now the first tab in that export file is going to be all of the high level information you see on your rep statement. So that is going to be all of the totals you see as your metrics and as your total commission incentives. So all of the totals for all of these are going to be represented on this first tab. So we can walk through this briefly and show you. All of the details of your statement are at the top, such as the period you're looking at on this statement, the exact dates of that statement period. You're going to see if the statement's frozen or unfrozen, meaning it's still getting data from your data source, or if it's stopped syncing data from your data source and the payout's final. And then you're going to see all of those metric cards. So these are all those cards and all of the totals that relate to them for that statement period and the currencies they're in, if there is a currency selected. And then you're going to see all of the totals for all of those rules or incentives on your plan. So the high level totals are what you see here for the summary view. But then following that, each tab or sheet is going to correspond with all of the other incentives now you have on your plan. So taking this sample statement as an example, if I open up for this rule called pending commission, it has all of these metrics at the top. You may see one, you may see none, you may see multiple, depending on your plans and rules. You'll also see sometimes deals rolling up into your total for a specific logic component on your plan. But what you see here is now going to be very closely represented in that statement view. So that rule was called pending commission. So I'm going to go to the pending commission tab. And that is now going to show, okay, that is what I'm earning in May or in that period. I'm going to see all of those metrics I saw for that rule, and I'm going to see them all totaling here. And then I'm going to see all of the specific deals that are rolling up into that statement period for that total. So that's going to be how every single one of these opens up in this statement. I'm going to be able to click to the next one, the monthly tiered rate incentive on this sample plan, see the total, see the metrics, and see the deals rolling up into it. So you may have one of these tabs, you may have 4 of these tabs, 10 of these tabs, depending on how many incentive components you have on your specific commission plans. And then at the very end, you're still going to get this raw list of deals, all of the deals that are rolling up for that statement period. So you get the raw list. If you like to make pivot tables and organize data the way you want it to be, this would be a great tab for that. So this update is coming again the end of May, and it's going to be something that is more closely aligning your statement view to that export view that you get from Excel. If you have any questions once this gets released in a couple weeks and you see this update, feel free to share any feedback or questions with your Spiff admin and they can relay that to the CSM. We're constantly giving feedback to product, and we're definitely going to continue enhancing a lot of these features over time. So we want to definitely hear your feedback and get the rep and the manager perspective on some of these releases. So stay tuned for this one. The statement export next version is going to be available within a few weeks. And then the final thing I want to highlight today is something that you will already see by the end of this week here when you click on your name or your profile image. So I can come here and see, because I have early access to this, you'll see it by tomorrow, this preferred language option. And when I select preferred language, I can now pick a different language to have the native elements of your plan, the Spiff default elements of your plan translated into that language. So this is the very first time we're adding multi-language support. And currently you can only see the default items translated. Nothing that's been custom entered is going to translate. It's all because it's been typed in English. So some of those elements you'll still see in English, but this is the first step towards getting more language support throughout our Spiff desktop app. So I want to highlight that a little bit more. Currently, we have the languages added: English, Spanish, French, German, and Portuguese. And we're going to continuously be looking at other ways to enhance the languages within Spiff. But to get started, by the end of this week, you'll be able to see at least that option to select between these 5 languages on your rep statement if you choose to do that. Another note is that we will continue to roll out more and more features for reps over time. We definitely have a lot of roadmap items planned for reps and for managers, not just for the admins that use Spiff in the day-to-day. So continuously stay tuned for future webinars on the different product releases, different announcements that you'll see in the app for product releases relevant to you. But also I wanted to just give another reminder to all of you who are joining today. Reach out to your admin and share feedback. We are always, as CSMs, coordinating with your Spiff admins and getting that feedback from them and relaying that to the product team. The product team here really does make iterations and updates every single day to the platform, and they're constantly meeting with clients. We're meeting with them as CSMs, giving them that feedback. Every month we escalate like top 15 feature requests for product to be aware of from clients. And so we want to not just get the admin perspective that we hear from every day, but also get the rep and the manager experience. So definitely feel free to always share that feedback, features you feel like would be useful in the future. We as CSMs that are working with your admins are very open and receptive to that. All right, we promised a 12-minute webinar and that was super fast, but we definitely want to shift it over and give some time for questions as well.
Yeah, Erin, looks like we have a few questions that came in. So I think we could spend a few minutes on these. The first one came in around not being able to see the year-to-date commissions on their statement. And if this is something that the admin can easily turn on just for them, or is it for the entire org?
Yeah, really great question. So that really just means if you don't see it, that it hasn't been clicked on for your plan. And it is something that is customizable by plan that's in your instance. So if you have a role for BDRs or a plan for BDRs, for example, then your admins could quickly turn it on just for the BDRs or for everyone in the org. So it's specific to the type of plan that you have set up within Spiff. So great question. And it is just a few clicks for admins to add, or CSMs are always willing to help your Spiff admins with making those updates and adding those cards as needed.
Awesome. And then the second question is also around the statement and those metrics. Are there other custom metrics that can be shown? And can you provide some examples of what those could look like?
Yeah, definitely. So we can absolutely add custom metrics. Some of you might already have some on your plans. Some of you might only see those few default metrics, such as the total commissions and the commissions over the past 12 months. However, we definitely have the ability to add more custom metrics. It is dependent upon the elements that we already have in your commission calculations and also the data that you have coming into Spiff. So it has to be stuff we're actually getting from your data source or getting imported, or it's already located within Spiff. However, we can customize metrics to really whatever you need based on that. So some examples we see a lot is like quarterly or annual goal attainment, bonus earnings year to date. We can really customize it to whatever data you have in your logic that you have inside of Spiff. If you have any suggestions, things you would find helpful, we can not only add it at the top level, but we can also add metric cards for each of those individual incentive components like we see here. So we can add them at the top. We can also add them in the specific components if they're elements related to how that component is calculating. So just know if you have any of that feedback, share it with your admin and they can work with us to see if it's something possible to add to your statement. Great question.
Fabulous. And I think we're going to wrap it up with one last question. It looks like we have a manager on the webinar. They're asking for the preferred language settings, if that's something that they need to do for their team, or if their individual team members can do that themselves.
Great. Yeah, good question. So managers and admins cannot actually set team language preferences. That is something that is set at the individual user preference. So every single person could determine the preference they have for their languages.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. We went a few minutes over, but I know that this was super helpful, Erin. So we appreciate taking everyone through the dive of, what came out recently, what's coming out this week, and what's coming out in the next few weeks. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar is going to be recorded and sent out automatically to all those that attended. So if you want to refer back to it, it will be in your inbox in the next few days. And as Erin already alluded to, if you have any questions around your Spiff setup or anything that you've seen today that you don't see on your specific statements, just feel free to work with your admin for Spiff, and they'll make sure they work with their counterpart CSM here to make sure that the statements that you guys see are most powerful and impactful for you. But we super appreciate everyone's time today. We hope you found this useful, and we look forward to hosting another webinar in the future to show you guys all the work that the team is doing to really motivate you guys and show you everything that you're doing in terms of commissions earned. So thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.